Okay, guys, and welcome. Part three of Chrome extension basics. You know what? I kind of want to just stop doing what we're doing with the Amazon Scraper project. Let's just move into project Chrome extension project number two, because that actually has a pop-up.html. I also wrote something called the Pinterest Scraper. So this is a series on scraping with Chrome extensions. A funny thing about scraping, I know scraping has this taboo, right? You shouldn't be scraping, but actually Google is the one that was the original scraper. One night they said that the guy who started Google went to sleep and had a dream about how he can uh, scrape the entire internet and create a relational database based off of which pages link to which other pages, and that was the PageRank algorithm. So of course, Google is still probably scraping the internet every minute, every 5 minutes. I don't know how fast they got it, but the funny thing is, Google now has created the reCAPTCHA v3 technology. So they kind of also have the monopoly on preventing other people from scraping because they have the reCAPTCHA tech. So just something to think about. If you feel like scraping is kind of taboo, something you shouldn't be doing, or you don't want to talk about it in interviews, I feel like it's pretty much at the heart of the internet and at the heart of Google's business model. So nothing to be ashamed about. So, guys, I want to talk now about the Pinterest scraper. And the Pinterest scraper also uses something called the popup.js page. If you remember, we had the popup.js page. And by the way, in terms of having questions, I think you can always, as a developer, you can always go into the repo of the Amazon scraper and feel free to just have a look at it and read up on it because there's plenty of resources. There's also, by the way, something called this article that I'm linking to in this video. It's called How to Get the Source Code to Any Chrome Extension, which is really awesome. You can look it up for Mac, Windows, or Linux. And because the moment you install a public Chrome extension, it goes and gets saved into your Chrome folder on your hard drive, on your system file folder, whatever, and then it's available. And you can also debug it, and you can see the truth of how simple it is, how many projects actually use this structure. The manifest.json is the setting page, background.js for background pages, content.js, and popup.js. So I said in the end of the last video that background.js is better for making HTTP requests as opposed to the content.js page, which is on the DOM. The reason is because the content.js page usually has something called a content security policy. And what that means is a lot of websites don't want people taking data from the site and just sending it straight to a server. So they prevent you from making HTTP requests from the actual content page, from the DOM itself, and interacting with the server on the DOM. In that case, that's why you need to. Most extensions will have a structure where they send the content, whatever data they want from the content.js from the DOM into the background.js page, and that's also what we're doing in the Pinterest scraper. And the Pinterest scraper has its own repo, again being linked to in the description. This time it does have a backend. I'm not sure if we'll have time to go into the server, but we will be able to see whether the data is being saved with our Metabase. Metabase, by the way, is my most popular YouTube series, and it's a data visualization tool for databases. Let's see, Brazil, CG Metabase. Trying to remember where it's located exactly. CG Metabase, Kickstarter. Okay. Well, okay, we'll get into that in another time. But for now, let's actually go ahead and install our Pinterest scraper. And I'm going to go into my desktop here. I'm going to git clone the project, the Pinterest bot. Okay. Let's see what happens here, guys. Ooh, looks like a pretty heavy project. The Pinterest scraper actually allows you to, let's see. This is This is something in Angular. James987@gmail.com signs in over here to the Pinterest scraper. No, I made a password. James987@gmail.com. Password is James. Okay, so I've already made that. Let's see what's happening here. The server responded with the server. Oh, man, this is taking a long time. What's the story? Application error occurred in ampituptime.herokuapp.com. Why? All right, so we have to debug this now. We'll get into that later. Okay, let's focus on Chrome extensions, guys. So Chrome extension, we're gonna actually have to go into the sign-in page. Hopefully they didn't change the sign-in page. I know that the logic of this extension was not so smart. I should have just made it that a person can just go ahead and log in as it is. Let's see if it downloaded. It did download the Pinterest scraper. That's good. Okay, it did download the Pinterest scraper. Let's go ahead and try to install the Pinterest scraper, guys. I'm going to go into my Chrome extensions tab. Let's see, Chrome extensions. I always have it readily available. Load unpacked. This is called the Pinterest bot. We're going to go ahead and open it. Okay, and it's enabled. It's available here, the Pinterest bot. Okay, and I've got this. I've got a Pinterest scraper, and I can run campaigns. Okay, and I can insert my analytics code. Ooh, create a username and password via the AMP site. So that's what I tried to do. It didn't work for some reason. So you know what? I'm going to add some more resources to that that GitHub project. Let's see. Sorry, to the Heroku repo. There's another tutorial series, by the way, all about Heroku. Sometime or other, this is always how things work. You start at the front end, you go to the back end, you know, the database, everything. Okay, it's called Ampituptime. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of help, and I can also actually debug it here. I can view the logs of this server, Ampituptime. That'll give us a good clue here. Node not exiting at error. Request timeout post login. I don't know why. You know what? I'm going to make that a little bit heavier to 25. That sometimes solves the issue. Just make the resource a little heavier. Because I know. Check your logs. There we go. Okay, sounds good. So that works. That's good. All right, existing users. I don't know why I'm listing my existing users. That's probably not a good idea, but whatever. All right, so I'm going to go into my users. I have my images tab here. Okay, so this is my images. The image is actually getting scraped. Okay, and I have got my campaigns here, and I can search according to the campaigns, maybe. Bananas. Let's see, add campaign. I can add a campaign here. I forgot exactly how this UX works. Let's see, monkeys. Let's see. Let's do, you know what? Johnny Depp. Add campaign. Campaign search term. Okay. You know what? Whatever campaigns I add here will also be available in my Chrome extension itself. So I'm going to go back into here. I'm going to press on Pinterest. I'm going to say insert analytics code. Okay. The analytics code will be from settings page here. I'm going to take your scraping code. I'm going to take my scraping code here. I'm going to go back into this, open the pop-up, paste the scraping code in there, press let's begin. And now I've got some, I've got some options here. All right, for stuff that I want to load. All right, not sure why I don't. This is very strange, guys. I'm going to reload that. Again, paste my scraping code in there. I know it should probably save stuff there, but it doesn't. All right, and finally, you know what? I'm just going to choose one of these. I'm going to choose Batman, and I'm going to press start scraping with one of these profiles. Okay? Man. Oh, and the funny thing is, I can also debug. I can debug the probably this page. Let's see. Manage extensions. Inspect the pop-up. Okay, so I can also debug, right? So that's kind of cool. It means that I can debug the popup.js page itself and understand what's happening. So it says controller has been initialized. Let's actually go ahead and open that code. Right. By the way, in terms of listening, in terms of the Chrome extension API for listening to content from the content page, it's chrome.runtime.add message. All right. I think it is, right? Okay. Fine, guys. So let's open up the Pinterest project. Pinterest bot and open. And let's see what happens here. Right? In the manifest.json, do we have a pop-up defined? Yeah, we do. Default pop-up is view/popup.html. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Do we have a background? If we have a background, okay, that should have been done probably, but okay. Okay, so let's see here. We have the pop-up page, the var my app angular.module. Okay, it's using an Angular app on the actual pop-up, and it's giving us a state provider. It's saying if the URL is /home/insert code/run campaign, and that's pretty much the three views that we just saw a second ago. We saw that there's this view. If I can log in. Oh, okay. I can log in just by pasting in. This is probably the login page. I press let's begin. That's going to give me this page. And then there's another page when the campaign is running, maybe. But okay, let's see. Run campaign. And I can actually choose a user and start scraping. So if I click that, something's happening probably. Okay, so I clicked that and something happened. Ran start scraping function with this user. And here is the search term, here is the campaign ID, ran start scraping function with this user. See, I made a mistake in the design of this extension. All right, so this can be a good lesson learned. The mistake was that I should have created the functionality to not include logging in. I should have just, because that would have decreased that level of complexity. I should have just made it that when the user is logged in, he can go ahead and start scraping. And that was pretty much what we did for the Amazon project. You don't need a username and a login to log in, and it worked really nicely. But now we're stuck with code that needs to be debugged. So that's, of course, how most of life is. But you know what? I've spent a good amount of time talking about this. I'm not going to save the Amazon scraper project, but it just gives you a good idea that you can actually do some interesting stuff with the Chrome extensions. Let's see. I haven't touched this in about a year. That's why. Okay, it's making a GET request to get campaigns when the user logs in, and that's why at least I can see the campaigns, and I'm getting that data from the server. So, right? Hopefully that kind of makes sense. When I actually put in, now here's another thing. If I X out of if I close the pop-up and then I open it back up, I'm back into the main screen. So that can also be improved. Let's say if I put in my analytics code, it at least fetches the campaigns that I created there. James@gmail.com. Let me check which. Yeah, James987@gmail.com. I put in. Okay. I've got. Man, this is intense. All right. See, that's why UX is important. Existing users, images, campaigns. So it does scrape images. It's done it in the past. It just hasn't done it in a long time. Oh, that's cool. It's got some Mars images here. And I think the problem is that what happens is in this app is the popup.js page interacts with the content.js page. And you'll see we have content.js, we have chrome.runtime.onMessage add listener, because there's probably something getting sent there. There's a function that sends a message, a sender, and a send response. Switch message.type, message.cred. and pop-up Chrome.runtime. Okay. You got Chrome.runtime on message, and you got Chrome.runtime send message. Good. Chrome.tabs.send message. I don't know. This is confusing as hell. Let's see my views. I've got my views, which is the run campaigns, insert your code. We've got the basic popup.html. And we've got campaign is running, maybe. Okay. Popup.js. All right, guys. All right. So I guess it's not so interesting to just see me trying to figure out how to debug this. But it looks like in this type of project, there's probably, you know what? Let me just log in with Kramer 1346. Okay, good. So now I'm logged in. I need to change the code. That way it won't try to log in. But I have to have a good look here, okay, right? Because this is 100 lines of code. There's some interaction happening between the popup.html, and you can see the structure here on top. The app popup.js. You have the views popup.html, okay? And there's something called the content.js, which probably actually interacts with the page. See, search term equals local storage.getItem search term. Probably the search term is being passed from the popup.html. And it just does something really interesting. It grabs all the images, and once it gets all the images, it says chrome.runtime.send message image data, stuff to save. Okay, so question is, do we have type image data? Now I'm going to go and do a search for the word image data. Okay, we've got a README in the GitHub repo, which it talks a little more about it. Content.js page has an image data. Okay, let's see if I have image data in the content.js page. Yeah, I do have. Where else do I have the image? Popup.js. In the popup.js, I've got something called image data. Chrome.runtime.onMessage. So this is the part within. I made a mistake. Another mistake I made within this project is that when the data is fetched from the Pinterest search results page, it goes back into the popup.html. Actually, that data should probably be fetched within a background.js file and then sent to the server. Because I already had the HTTP library of Angular installed on the popup.js page, I decided to just send it there. But the drawback between that in terms of UX is that the popup.js pop-up little widget needs to be open all the time to keep on listening for the data that's going to come back from the content page. So hopefully that makes sense. It's just you really have to think it through. That's why I said in the last video of part 2, anytime that you're going to fetch some data from the content page, that you should send it to the background page, not to the pop-up page, because the pop-up page continually opens and closes, as you saw. We kept on losing everything every time that we open and close the pop-up. So it shouldn't be listening there, even though you do have the option to create this, to use this chrome.runtime.onMessage anywhere within the structure of a Chrome extension. You can use that popup.js, the pop-up. You can use chrome.runtime.onMessage listening on the pop-up page, the content page, or the background page, and you define everything in the manifest page. So hopefully that gives you a nice little idea of stuff you can do. It depends on how creative you are, and the important thing is to just get some experience with it. Try to build a project and see how it works out for you. All right, guys, and by the way, I'm just going to give one quick teaser for the information that I have within the Pinterest bot. You've got here the technologies used. I don't think I'm gonna give access to. Maybe I'll try to give access to the server code as well, because I ended up building on the server code a little more. But yeah, this has information about the server code because that's going to help you understand the front end code for this, and it's got some information here, right, all about that. All right, guys, so hopefully you enjoyed that, and feel free to leave questions and comments. I'm going to link to this Pinterest bot in the description, and hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and have a great day.